The way Hollywood treats women has changed a lot over the years. But there is still a lot of work to be done in a world where men are in charge. Maureen O'Hara was an actress who refused to go along with the crowd and change who she was. People called her the Queen of Technicolor, and she made a name for herself in Hollywood for her amazing acting skills, her free spirit, and most importantly, for changing the way actors are treated. Even though this was impressive, Maureen O'Hara faced a lot in her life, including some things that hurt her too much and made her want to hide from the spotlight. Watch this movie to learn more about this and other things. Here are some of her early years, before she became one of the biggest stars in the 1940s and 1960s. She was born in Dublin, Ireland, on August 17, 1920, as Maureen Fitzsimons. It's known that Irish people are stubborn and will fight for what they believe in. And that's exactly what the star became. In her book, the actress also writes with great affection about how she was born into the most interesting and unique family she could have ever imagined. Charles and Marguerite Fitzsimons had 2 other children before her. She was also the only one of the 6 kids with red hair, which I thought was strange. Her father ran a clothing line business, and her mother did well as a clothes seller. Before that, the would-be actress's mother was also a former operatic contralto. She got her singing voice from her mother. The actress also said that her mother was thought to be one of the most beautiful women in Ireland and that men would rush out of their homes just to catch a glimpse of her when she went outside. It was meant to be for Maureen Fitzsimons to be a star. He had good looks and great ability. As a child, she was pretty big, which is how she got the name, Baby Elephant. Young Maureen didn't let it bother her, though. In fact, she loved doing a lot of things that boys usually do, like swimming, climbing trees, riding horses, and playing soccer. During her childhood, Maureen became so interested in soccer that she begged her father to make a team for women. She often played at the Shamrock Rovers FC when she was younger and called it her second home. Her boyish hobbies lasted well into her teenage years. She wasn't interested in cheerleading or other girly games, instead, she liked judo. Many years after the fact, Maureen talked about how, as a child, she was envious of the boys' freedom to do whatever they wanted. Making trouble without getting into it while running around. I was a rude kid. O'Hara said in her biography by Aubrey Malone that he was blunt almost to the point of being rude. I told them the truth and made them look bad. I wasn't good at following rules. I'd never get hit in school. I would have bit the teacher if she had hit me. I guess I was a bad kid who was brave. But it was fun. Maureen started dancing when she was 5 years old and went to John Street West Girls' School in Dublin's Liberties area for her schooling and her hobby. Maureen, who was interested, chose to become rich one day while she was in school here. The psychic told her she would be rich and famous when she grew up. Young Maureen told her friends and anyone else who would listen that she was going to be the best actor in the world. Lucky for her, she was born into a family that let her follow her dreams. When she was 6, she read a song on stage at school and felt like a star. She and her younger brother started training in music, dance, and theater after that. She says she thinks of her family as the Irish Von Trapp family. She joined the Rathmines Theatre Company when she was 10 years old and worked on the show after school. She played a few parts, but at age 12, she was already 5 feet 6 inches, which made her mother worry that she would become the biggest girl. She only got taller by 8 inches, which is good, and when she was 14, she joined the Abbey Theatre. Not for Maureen, though, even though she won the Dublin Face Award for her role in The Merchant of Venice under Lennox Robinson's direction, the theatre life wasn't for her. It's also important to note that Maureen learned how to type in shorthand, which came in handy later in her work when she typed John Ford's The Quiet Man. Maureen was already getting a lot of attention as a young actor when she was 17. She was beautiful and, most importantly, talented. The Abbey Theatre even offered her her first major part, but she was too busy with Harry Richmond, who had a lot of different roles. The second one was interested in her and even made plans to meet her at the Gresham Hotel, where Maureen was having dinner with her family. It didn't take him long to get her to agree to a screen test at Lee Studios so she could become an actor. She gave in and went to London, but her screen test was not at all fun. She wore too much and had too much makeup on. Even so, Charles Hilton saw her promise and tried to get Eric Palmer to agree with him. Following a number of talks, the actress signed a contract when she was only 17. This shocked her family. The first movie she was in was Walter Ford's British singing comedy Kicking the Moon Around, which came out in 1938. But Maureen never thought of this as part of her career. If anything, she thinks about her role in the British musical film My Irish Molly, which came out the same year as her first movie and is the only one that credits her real name, Maureen Fitzsimons. The next year, in the action thriller Jamaica in 1939, she had her first big movie part. She played Mary Yeelan in the movie, which was directed by Alfred Hitchcock and also stars Charles Hilton. Hilton recommended she change her last name to something shorter, like Omar or O'Hara, even though she didn't like either one. This was a turning point in her career. In the end, the actor made the decision for her, and she later said that no one could say Fitzsimons correctly. It's also important to know that Charles Hilton was like a father to her, possibly because the actor wanted a daughter of his own. This is why O'Hara was very sad when Hilton died in 1962. She felt like she had lost a parent. But let's get back to the family. Since this was one of her earlier movies, many reviewers were amazed at how well she could act. One critic said she is not only beautiful, but also shows a lot of potential as an actress. O'Hara saw how charming she was when people watched and reviewed her movies. We all remember that she was a tomboy as a child, so she didn't know how pretty or attractive she really was. In the same year, 1939, she appeared in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, a movie that brought her to the attention of the public. The movie was made by RKO in Hollywood. She left for New York with her mother and Charles Hilton. In the movie, she played Esmeralda, a beautiful gypsy dancer, and Hilton played Quasimodo, a sad hunchback. The movie did very well at the box office, taking in a huge $3 million. Some say that Hilton's Quasimodo was the star of the movie, even though she was praised for both her looks and her acting. Once this happened, things got hard for O'Hara because Hilton's company shut down because of the coming war and sold her contract to RKO. Even though she was hurt and felt deceived, she kept working in the field. Her next job was to adapt the British play, A Bill of Divorce, by John Farrow. It was also a reboot of a movie made by George Cukor in 1932. She played Sidney Fairchild in this movie. At this point, the actress faced her first of many problems in the business, which is something that many beautiful newcomers to Hollywood have to deal with. You see, Farrow liked the actress and even said some sexual things to O'Hara, which made things so much harder for her while the movie was being filmed. Even worse, the director followed her home. Farrow made things harder for the actor when she refused to give in to his advances. He bullied her in public on set. Luckily for him, the actress has very strong nerves and didn't back down. She ended up punching Farrow in the face. That's when the harassment at work stopped, and they were able to finish shooting without any issues. Find out how her name was dragged and how she would have lost everything if she hadn't done this one thing that Hollywood has never done before. Since working on Farrow, O'Hara had a few other small parts, such as in the 1941 movie version of the American show They Met in Argentina. The actress already knew it was bad because she called it a stinker and said it had a bad story, director, plot, and music that people would forget. This did come true when her director got her a part in the 1941 movie How Green Was My Valley. This was the first project that O'Hara and John Ford, a director who became a friend, worked on together. O'Hara played Angher Morgan in the movie, which was about a Welsh mining family who lived in the South Wales Valley in the 1800s. This was the part that made her famous all over the world. She even beat out Katharine Hepburn and Jean Tierney for the part. That being said, Maureen O'Hara's connection with John Ford is complicated, even though the director gave her a lot of steady work that helped her become famous. Being tied to RKO is both a gift and a curse for the actress, because it has given her a lot of chances and helped her make great connections with people. On the other hand, it has also hurt her. John Ford was a great director, but he was also a very moody and mean guy. Can you picture him hitting Maureen O'Hara in the face for no reason? O'Hara did it just to prove to him that she could handle a punch. Ford also seemed to let O'Hara have some artistic freedom with how she played her parts, but he always had the final say. Still, it was enough to show the world how good Maureen O'Hara is as an actor, getting praise and criticism from fans and reviewers alike. Maureen O'Hara worked on a lot of projects. The war movie To the Shores of Tripoli, in which she acted with John Payne, was her big break as the Queen of Technicolor. As O'Hara movies go, this one was pretty boring. In The Black Swan, 1942, a swashbuckler, she finally found a subject that was worth her time. The movie about pirates had everything you could want in a fancy pirate movie, and she liked working with Tyrone Power. The movie was a huge hit, but many people thought O'Hara wasn't very good as an actress. The American film More the Fallen Sparrow and the John Garfield movie This Land Is Mine are also seen as important to her playing career. She wasn't just a pretty face in these movies, she could show a lot of different feelings. Interestingly, O'Hara didn't like shooting in Technicolor because there were so many cameras and lights to use. She went so far as to say that the lighting made her co-workers sick and hurt her eyes so much. On top of that, she connected the term to something bad. In the 1950 American Western drama Rio Grande, directed by John Ford, she worked with John Wayne for the first time. This was also the height of her fame as the Queen of Technicolor. The romance movie The Quiet Man, 1952, and the war story The Wings of Eagles, 1957, were the next two movies this group would make. She made two more movies with Wayne that weren't directed by John Ford. McClintock, which came out in 1963, and Big Jake, which debuted in 1971. Most people thought she was dating John Wayne because she had such good chemistry with him. In fact, newspapers even wrote stories about the two saying they had a secret love child. The star being open about how comfortable she was with Wayne didn't help. So, the notion that they were dating never went away. Also, Maureen O'Hara said that The Quiet Man was her best work and the one she was most proud of. She went on to be in a lot more movies, but she was often pigeonholed into a certain type. So, working for John Ford was perfect for her, except for later on. It can be hard to find a guy who will take care of you and protect you, especially if you're a strong, independent woman like O'Hara. She was also raised as a devoted Catholic, which is why her many marriages upset her because of how Catholics feel about divorce. She married her first husband, an Englishman named George H. Brown, behind closed doors. They met on the set of Jamaica in 1939. At the time, she was only 19 years old. In 1941, she married the American director William Houston Price for the second time. Price was working as the Hunchback of Notre Dame speech director at the time, and they started dating very quickly. They had their first sexual act right away, which she deeply regretted. She had no idea that there were worse things she could have regretted about her marriage to Price. She soon learned that he was a drinker. There was a girl they had together named Brunwyn Bridget, so O'Hara never thought about leaving him. In her early 40s, the actress's first marriage slowly fell apart. And even though she really wanted to get a divorce, her Catholic faith made her feel bad about it. The reason Price finally filed for divorce after 10 years was because he and Price were no longer compatible. After she broke up with Price, O'Hara began dating Enrique Parr, a wealthy Mexican politician. She said that Parr got her through the rough times with Price. She loved him very much, but she had to leave him. She said, "It was one of the worst things I've ever had to do." This was her third and last marriage. He was 11 years older than her. His name was Charles F. Blair Jr. At the time, he was a well-known person. This person was a brigadier general in the U.S. Air Force, the first person to fly a plane across the Atlantic Ocean, and the top pilot of Panama. On March 12, 1968, they got married. However, even though they were famous in their own fields, O'Hara and her husband decided to live a quiet life away from the spotlight. In this period of time, she had already given up acting to help her husband run his small airplane business. They didn't get to spend much time together because Blair sadly died when his plane crashed on the way from St. Croix to St. Thomas. She was put in charge of his business because of this until she gave it to someone else in 1981. Like all Hollywood stars who were women, O'Hara was in tabloids. Some of them aren't mean, but there was one time when the actress fought back and earned the respect of everyone in the business, including the media. When she was dating Enrique Parr, she found that many people didn't want them to be together because they didn't like him. For example, John Ford was so against it that it made their work relationship worse. Actually, he didn't like it when the actress split up with Price. After all, he was a pious Christian too. Price, her ex-husband, also didn't like them being together. He even harassed her and went to court to get custody of their daughter Bronwyn. He sued because of what he saw as evil behavior. O'Hara didn't give up and settle down like most women her age did. Instead, she fought him through the courts. He refused to pay monthly child support, so she sued him back and charged him with contempt. All of these things she did were amazing, but suing Confidential magazine was even more so. As you may remember, the magazine said that O'Hara and the Mexican banker were having physical relations at the Grauman's Chinese theater while the actress was dating Parra. They wrote that she came into Grauman's wearing a white silk shirt with all the buttons up, making it look like they were doing something inappropriate. Because these claims were so ridiculous, Maureen O'Hara sued Confidential magazine for $5 million. She showed her passport and said she was shooting for a project in Spain to prove she was not guilty. For some, this win might not mean much, but for women, it's a huge deal. This announcement did not match up with everything, though. When O'Hara wrote her book, she said that she won the case. But when Aubrey Malone wrote her memoir, she said that the actress and Confidential settled the case without going to court. During her time in Twilight, Maureen O'Hara had a lot of health problems. Her uterus was found to have cancer in 1978, and she had surgery to remove the growth. At the time, she was writing a lot to John Wayne, and when she got the all clear, he cried with her. When Wayne died the next year, the actress went through a very bad sadness that lasted for a long time. In New York City in 1989, she had not one, not two, but 6 heart attacks in a row, which meant she had to have angioplasty. In 2005, she had a stroke that made her decide to move to Glengarriff. Her family also said that she had been abused as an older person in May 2012, so she was sent to Idaho to live with her grandson. Over the last few years, Maureen O'Hara had trouble remembering things and had type 2 diabetes. She died peacefully in her sleep in Boise, Idaho, on October 24, 2015.